Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Joseph Ho in Whitehorse. Last night, we told you about the end of a housing project planned for people with disabilities. The project was 5 years in the making. The lease agreement between the Northwest Territories government and the NWT Disabilities Council has fallen apart, and the government wants the land back for something else. Nadir Hashmi has more for us tonight on who's affected and what is at stake.
It's just very emotional, very tough.
Brian Carter is the chair of the NWT Disabilities Council. He's preparing to leave the Northwest Territories in the coming weeks. Along with his deteriorating health, he says one of the reasons is finding an accessible home for himself and his family.
We had discussed about the possibility of moving into that home. And now I'm forced to make a major move on our own, disabled, with 3 of us disabled.
The council has worked on architectural designs and fundraising for the past 5 years. For Carter, the project would have meant greater security and stability.
My health is going down. I've got heart problems. I've got diabetes. My legs need to be amputated. I had cancer surgery last year that after a long delay, I was running my business while hooked up to a catheter. Yeah, it became very personal to me.
With the project in limbo, Carter says people will continue to be transferred to institutions down south.
It's going to mean they're losing their contact with their communities. People lose their sense of dignity. And, you know, as disabled people, that's a big thing, is to be able to live in dignity.
In a statement, the government's housing corporation said it needs the land for another project. It also said the council didn't meet the deadlines under the lease agreement. Carter disagrees.
We met every milestone. I asked them to provide the proof of that, provide their letters to us requesting certain milestones. I can show you the ones that we provided to them requesting the next steps.
The Northwest Territories Human Rights Commissioner calls the situation a setback for people with disabilities, as there's a significant need that is not being met.
Well, it certainly affects people's human rights in the broader scheme of things. You know, if you take a look at the UN Declaration, it's certainly an issue that would show up there.
Advocates says it's especially a struggle to get resources in the north, and it becomes a bigger problem for people with disabilities.
Quite often the people in the north are sent away. And that's already difficult, but it can be that much more difficult for someone with a disability.
Pictures of family and so on are packed away as well. Basically 26 years of memories. The collapse of this project is more than just bureaucratic failure. It's a devastating blow to people living with disabilities in the Northwest Territories who remain chronically underserved across housing.
Carter says he feels sad for the people of the north and says another project like this could take another 10 years. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
In Yellowknife, RCMP have charged 3 people after raiding a home on Saturday. Police got a report that somebody had been sexually assaulted and that there were drugs and weapons there. Officers arrested brothers Tevin and Dean McNeely and their mother, Maureen McNeely. Tevin McNeely is charged with sexual assault, forcible confinement, drug trafficking, and violating a weapons ban. Dean McNeely faces drug and weapons charges. Their mother, Maureen, is charged with forcible confinement and drug possession for the purpose of trafficking. The brothers were on bail at the time. They remain in custody. Nunavut's premier is defending his government's record on public housing. It follows a recent report by the Auditor General that said Nunavut mutes are not being provided fair access. PJ Akiaguk faced tough questions from MLAs on Tuesday. TJ Deer has more.
Arviat South MLA Joe Savikatak took Nunavut's premier to task over the Auditor General's report during Tuesday's question period.
The premier on many occasions have stated that they're building 3 times as many houses at half the cost. Does the Premier still stand by that statement?
When asked twice if he stands by that statement, PJ Akiakok eventually said yes, but didn't give any details. Savikatak cited the Auditor General's report, which stated that there's been a lack of communication and misinformation about the targets outlined in the Nunavut 3000 strategy. Akiakok disputed this.
We've been open and transparent in terms of showcasing what levels, and they're all in different stages in terms of the construction phases.
Nunavut Housing Corporation President and CEO Aaron Devereaux says the goal is to build 3,000 units by 2030, but he adds even if that target is missed, it will still be a success.
If we had kept doing everything the same, building 100 units a year over 9 years, we would have seen 1,000 odd units come into the territory. So we're talking about doubling and trying to triple, the supply of much needed housing.
Devereaux says the 3,000 figure relates to units under construction since 2021. NHC's first report on the strategy says, quote, NHC will not build all 3,000 units. TJ Deer, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Pharmacists in Nunavut will soon be allowed to prescribe medication. The territory's legislature has passed legislation making that change possible. John Main is the Minister of Health. He says expanding the scope of pharmacists' work is important. Main says the territory still needs to decide which drugs they can prescribe and for what ailments.
They'll be able to do things like administer vaccines. They'll be able to prescribe certain types of medication for common ailments. So really, at the end of the day, what we're most excited about is expanded access to healthcare services for Nunavut residents.
Main says it should take at least 1 year to work out the details. Mark Carney has made his question period debut. The new Prime Minister took questions for the first time from opposition MPs. It follows the throne speech read by King Charles that set the government agenda. Here is the CBC's Ashley Burke.
So much better. The Prime Minister on his way into question period for the first time.
Mr. Speaker, may I first thank my constituents from Nepean for giving me the honor of being here.
It's a new parliament, a new dynamic, and new tests for Mark Carney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome the Prime Minister to his first official question period. This is where democracy lives, and this is where we provide rigorous scrutiny on every word he says and every dollar he spends on behalf of Canadians.
Andrew Scheer now his main opponent after the Conservatives leader lost his seat and is on the outside. Pierre Poilievre holding a press conference on the other side of the House of Commons door.
Hey, I'd love to be in there. It's a great place. I love the House of Commons. I love the excitement and the thrill. And I've never really been a spectator of the House. So but I'm going to work hard to earn the opportunity to do it again.
Inside, the Conservatives' attack line clear.
Why won't he table a budget before he goes on summer vacation?
The right honourable Prime Minister. Our plan includes legislating for one Canadian economy and nation-building projects immediately to grow this economy, and we expect the support from all in this House.
They must be really afraid to come clean with Canadians if they're going to punt it off into the fall.
All of this new for Carney, including only having 35 seconds to respond.
And could you also indulge me to...
And some of the reviews on how Carney did are in.
He's got to get his sea legs under him.
It's the first time. He needs to learn. But let's see.
He is authentic and natural. He knows what he wants to say, and he just gets to the point.
Carney's first performance in question period was short. He isn't carrying on his predecessor Justin Trudeau's tradition of answering all of the questions on Wednesdays, making this more of a warm-up for future fights. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
This astonishing world, with its infinite possibilities, calls to the world shapers, impact makers, visioneers. Together, let's unlock potential everywhere.
Hi, it's Yaya.
Am I a loser?
No job, no home.
No clue.
Really?
I need a fresh start. No. Hire me. I want to make our community a better place. Sup, kids?
I'm gonna John Taylor.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
You're not down south anymore, Toto? Tell me everything.
Deal.
Is that Canada? Yeah.
I love it.
Incredible.
Imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Isn't it ironic, don't you think?
Is it?
Is it?
See you there.
So, you want to watch the CBC News streaming channel? You can, wherever and whenever you want. Here's how to find us. We're on the CBC News app, on CBC Gem, and on your smart TV. Stream anytime, it's always free. CBC News.
Many villages in Nunvik are calling for a specific solution to routine water problems, the installation of utilidors. But there are two major barriers to using those tunnels. Money is one of them, the other is the land itself. Samuel Watt explains.
Just that the price tag is very, very high.
That, plus permafrost, are the main challenges to building utilidors across Nunvik, according to the Nunvik Regional Government's Hossein Shafigati. Utilidors are corridors providing basics like water, either above or underground. Shafigati says Kujarapik is the only Nunvik village with a utilidor because it's built on sand and there's no permafrost there. Further north in Nunavut, Iqaluit, Rankin Inlet and Resolute Bay have partial pipe systems. Here in Iqaluit, sand again is a big factor.
It's not easy to dig in the permafrost.
Michel Allard, an emeritus professor at Laval University, has spent decades studying permafrost in Nunavik. He looks to places like Greenland for inspiration.
They have utilidors, but they also run pipes on the surface. They have insulated and heated pipes that run on the surface.
But he says each community has its own unique geology to be considered, and utilidors are costly and complex ventures. Quebec Indigenous Affairs Minister Jan Lafreniere says he isn't opposed to funding utilidors, but he says KRG has not spent all its allocated funds for infrastructure from previous agreements.
If it is an issue with money, we're flexible. There's also the need to order trucks to repair them, to get mechanics.
In the meantime, the Nunvik Regional Government is looking at improving the water trucking system, private-public partnership subsidies, for example, or more training.
Or we should perhaps invest in, housing and things to be able to bring in workforce from the outside, because a lot of our villages have very, very young populations.
Local and provincial leaders are set to unpack all that during their post-mortem into Pavernatuk's water emergency. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Meanwhile, in the Yukon, the village of Haines Junction is reminding residents to continue conserving water. 2 weeks ago, a pump that drives the primary supply well stopped working. The secondary well still works but has limited capacity. Conservation measures are expected to remain for another week. There's an extreme heat warning for the southern NWT and northern Alberta over the next couple of days. Temperatures are expected to be as high as 32 degrees Celsius in the South Slave, soaring above the seasonal averages.
Probably stay inside and put the AC on. It'd be too hot for me.
People are gearing up for sweltering temperatures. Environment Canada has issued an extreme heat warning for Fort Chipewyan. The community experienced a record-breaking high of 32.2 degrees Celsius on Monday. That is expected to continue over the next 2 days. Environment Canada is urging residents to take precautions against heat-related illnesses. In the NWT, Fort Smith was the hotspot today, driving up the wildfire risk.
Right now, the town of Fort Smith has a full fire ban in place. The wind is also making it very extreme fire weather. As far as heat, definitely try and find a cool place in your home. Make sure that your curtains are drawn. If you can get an air conditioner, that's even better. But of course, we've been experiencing power outages, so if we have a power outage in the heat, try and get down to a basement or a cool spot in your home. But the long-term forecast for the summer looks hot and dry, so stay cool and stay hydrated.
McNabb says despite all the areas that burned in 2023, fire risk around Fort Smith remains extremely high. He says residents need to be extra careful. The city of Whitehorse has released a renewed plan to tackle climate change. The document has 76 action items. The plan could see the city adopt residential water meters and shore up defenses against wildfires. The city says buildings and transportation make up the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions. That is why the plan looks at how to make buildings greener and how to get more commuters out of their cars.
You know, so for example, the first action in the plan is actually to try to enhance public transit options and active commute options. And so, I mean, the city has an incredible bike network, trail network.
The city is taking public feedback on the plan until June 20th. The city of Whitehorse has a message for whoever is chopping down trees along the Millennium Trail. Please stop. Somebody cut down numerous aspen, leaving the wood neatly stacked in piles along the trail. A parks official says why is a big mystery. They were not harvesting firewood because they left it all there. Maybe somebody thought they were fire smarting. You do need a permit to cut wood within city limits and only for trees that are already down. People cannot cut standing trees without special permission. The wildfire emergency is continuing to escalate in Western Canada. At least 4,000 people have left their homes in northern Saskatchewan. Communities in Alberta and Manitoba are also facing evacuation orders. Alexander Silberman has the latest from Saskatoon.
More than 4,000 people have been forced to evacuate their homes in northern Saskatchewan as aggressive wildfires continue to spread. The province is battling 17 active fires, including 10 that are burning out of control, threatening homes, businesses, and highways. The largest evacuation is the northern village of Pelican Narrows, about 400 kilometers northeast of Prince Albert, where wildfire is burning near the community. Fire crews are also dealing with 2 fires that have merged into one, now known as the Shoe Fire. It's the largest fire in the province, at more than 200,000 hectares in size. The fire has already destroyed camps and hunting lodges.
You hear people saying they watched their dreams burn, and I literally did that. It was devastating. The force of the fire and how it moved so fast, and I don't even have words for it.
In Manitoba, there are 18 active fires burning, including a growing fire advancing near the city of Flin Flon. Intense conditions have limited the resources sent to the fire, and officials say water bombers had to be grounded after a drone flew in the area.
I know there's a lot of worry in the community, like, are we going to be fighting for our lives, trying to get out of the town, get away from this fire?
Further north in Lynn Lake, about 600 people have been under an evacuation order since yesterday. In Alberta, firefighters are working to contain 20 out-of-control fires. An area of significant concern is Swan Hills, 220 kilometers northwest of Edmonton, where 1,300 people are under an evacuation order. and there are fears that hot, dry, and windy conditions could make fires on the prairies worse in the coming days. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
Manitoba has declared a province-wide state of emergency as wildfires continue to threaten communities across the province. The declaration was made just over an hour ago. The decision will involve the evacuation of about 17,000 people across the province, including from the city of Flin Flon. Premier Wab Kinew says Prime Minister Mark Carney has accepted the province's request to have the Canadian Armed Forces step in to help. Yukon hockey star Gavin McKenna is heading to the Memorial Cup final. His Medicine Hat Tigers beat the London Knights 3-1 last night, advancing to the championship game. The major junior Melanie Peters are showing their support for McKenna. Elementary. Melanie, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Well, you're very welcome. It's nice to be able to talk about this.
Did you watch the game last night?
Oh, of course, yeah. We were cheering that team on and super excited that they've moved on to the finals on Sunday.
Tell me about your relationship with Gavin and his family.
Well, I've only met Gav once. Super polite kid. He had just finished getting a tattoo on his arm, and it was pretty cool. It was the coordinates of his grandfather's cabin, which, you know, just speaks to how deeply, you know, family means to him. And then I work with his mom, Crystal, here at Jack Holland. And yeah, just lots of fun.
Now, you have your Medicine Hats Tigers jersey on. You've got your pom-poms. Why don't you tell me a bit about what you have planned to rally behind this young man?
Well, just, you know, supporting him as hopefully all Canadians and Yukoners especially, just watching him. I've put out a couple social media posts on Facebook to say, hey, let's wear orange and black on the days that they play. So hopefully everyone will be wearing orange and black or something with a tiger on it for Sunday, because they did make the finals. And not sure who they're playing against yet, but, you know, let's just show this team, and let's show Gavin that, you know, we're here for them, and we appreciate what they do. And, you know, it's entertainment, but the skill that these guys have is it's so great to watch.
What do you think it does for community pride to see a local athlete excel at Canada's national pastime like this?
Well, hockey is Canada's game, and you see people, whether it's Yukoners or, as you said, Canada-wide, we love this game. And just you look at the watch parties, you look at the crowd last night in Edmonton, like they're so loud, they're so into it, they're right behind their teams, hopefully win or lose, because there's always going to be one of each side. But yeah, it just makes us so proud as Canadians, and especially Yukoners, where you see this talent come, and we've had a few you know, excel at this level, but I don't think as great as Gavin. I think he's just going to be this shining star.
Do you have a message for Gavin ahead of the game?
Just try and enjoy it. I'm glad your mom and dad are going to be with you, and yeah, just have fun. And yeah, can't wait to see him on the ice on Sunday.
Okay, Melanie, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the game on Sunday.
Thank you. Go Tigers, go.
The Memorial Cup final will be played on Sunday, and as you heard, the Tigers are still waiting to see who their opponent will be. Now, win or lose, McKenna has a lot of hockey left to play. He is projected to be the #1 draft pick in the 2026 NHL Draft. In Windsor, Ontario, members of the local blind community have always sought social activities where they can have fun and feel included. And it seems like they have hit the bullseye. Here is more from the organizers.
Okay, 17. I got points. 13. I got points. Yay. In our community, there's not a lot of activities for blind and visually impaired people.
and we're saying, well, what can we do? And we were looking at the stuff in the Legion. We're sitting there, all these dart boards. I said, well, why don't we play darts? Well, then they said, well, wait a minute. You got blind, visually impaired people throwing sharp objects around a crowded room. I said, it sounds perfect.
Darts? Okay.
We do have guides that point us in the right direction.
First name's Gary Best. I'm Peter's first cousin. I decided to come and help them out with their dart throwing. Right from the get-go, I line them up. I get them lined up on their line to throw the darts towards the dartboard. And I'll tell you, they have improved since the beginning. And they're getting better, and they're getting better. They're starting to hit the board really good now. So things seem to be going pretty well for them. And they're having a great time. Plus, they're using real darts. They're not using plastic or any other kind of darts. These things are very sharp. But I make sure that I am totally out of the way.
All set. Clear? Clear.
I think what it is that it gives all of us an opportunity to feel like we're just belong. It also demonstrates that when you have a disability, there's, you can find a way to get things done.
Almost a bullseye.
I had never played darts before, and I just thought that it would be a really nice social thing to do.
I really want it to become more involved, and I have to say that has led me to just enjoying it and realizing that there are people out there with the same disability that I have.
We do it very safely. We've been doing it, like I say, since February. Nobody's been injured. And everybody keeps coming back. It's just having a great time.
That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. I'm Joseph Ho. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.